talking to him for the next hour and a half, so we'll get through it. But Lloyd Kaufman, independent producing, filmmaking legend.
You need me to eat the mic? I just know I'm a little loud. I didn't want to overpower.
For nearly 50 years, Troma has been doing its thing. It was really exciting to see how many people were getting things signed. Hope everybody got a chance to meet Toxic over here. We will have a chance at the end of this for you to ask Lloyd some questions, so be thinking about all that. Lloyd, how the heck are you?
Thank you very much. I have something to share with you because in the industry now, you have to sign, it's such a disgusting industry, you have to sign an NDA, what is it?
Disclosure.
Disclosure. So I can share a secret with you because I'm going to break the NDA. This is the 20th anniversary of the Tallgrass Film Festival! Yeah! Kansas and Melanie Addington, look at you there, calm, collected, relaxed. And behind every great woman is lots of pizza. No, Josh, actually, sorry. Thank you for the nice lunch of pizza, by the way. At any rate,
I feel like in terms of Troma history, so many people think it begins with the Toxic Avenger. So I would love to talk about the earlier days and the beginning of Troma, and maybe even just your beginnings into film itself. What led you passionately to do this for 5 decades?
My wife said that when she saw that there was something on the program called The Embarrassment, she thought that was about my career. Sorry, that's a wonderful band though, they're terrific. We didn't get much in New York of The Embarrassment. Anyway, it was a wonderful night last night. Thank you so much.
How did you get into film?
I made the mistake of going to Yale University, where I happened to be roomed in a room with a movie nut, and freshman year, and our beds were very close. Very small bedroom. Beds were head to toe, and at night I'd inhale Robert Edelstein's Godard smelly feet, and I got obsessed with movie making. And then I went to see a lot of the Yale movies. They were in the auteur, so they would show movies by so-called auteur filmmakers. And,
there's a big difference, though, between a love for cinema and a love for filmmaking, which I think you have to be at least a little bit of a masochist to want to get into. So, what were your gateway drugs? What were the movies that you were watching that made you get excited about the actual craft?
Well, I was watching The Toxic Avenger in 1965. It was very influential. Fritz Lang did the first version. But I'm old, so for me it was John Ford, Howard Hawks, Samuel Fuller, Jean Renoir, Fritz Lang, Stan Brakhage, the greatest visual artist of my lifetime, and so on and so forth, Jean Renoir.
When are you going to make a... Hey.
Everybody wait.
That's why we did that. So tell me about those early...
Anita, ladies and gentlemen, Anita!
Hey.
Trying not to be seen, but she's a very hard worker and a very good cause for which she works.
Late 60s, early 70s, a much different time for the film industry.
Yes.
So then what happened next? So now you're getting excited about filmmaking. What are the early days for you leading up to the creation of Troma?
Well, I've written 7 books, all of which concern filmmaking. So if you want to read any of them,
we got 90 minutes, Lloyd. This is the Cliff's Notes version here.
I'm trying to make it short. They can go out and read. All I need to know about filmmaking I learned from The Toxic Avenger, which is my memoir, which will tell you in more detail because I can't. I'm so boring. I can't possibly put it all together. But I decided, thanks to my good friend LSD, that I would. My senior year, I had 2 offers. One was to work on a Barbra Streisand movie in City of Angels, and the other was to work for a crappy little independent company in New York, and I, under the influence of 60s acid, I decided I'll stay with the independent and try to go into this so-called independent auteur filmmaking. Boy, was that a mistake.
Well, I was going to say, so, I mean, now, you know, we're all here, you got people lining up, want to get everything signed, but...
thank you.
But hey, you're welcome. What were you doing? What was it? Talk about the like the forming of Troma, the mistakes that you made, the things you didn't know that only made you stronger.
Well, no, nothing has made me stronger except for my beautiful wife of 48 years.
Hey, let's hear it for that.
The Blue Apron Trophy wife, commissioner of the great state of New York for 19 years, killed off 4 different governors, both Republican and Democrats. Can't beat that. And then finally, you know, it's not easy being an independent filmmaker. I'm sure you all either know that or gonna find it out. It's very tough. But as Woody Allen says, you quoted him the other night. What's his name? The singer, Mojo Nixon quoted Woody Allen. He's in Butt Crack, by the way, Troma movie. I don't know if we have it here, but it's a great movie. And he's very good at his music in Butt Crack, and he loves the movie. It was amazing. I couldn't believe it. At any rate, he quoted, success is, as Woody Allen says, success is 88% just showing up. So think of that.
I'm going to keep that.
And that's, of course, he's boffing his daughter apparently, but my getting this wonderful Ad Astra award is a proof of that. Stay with it. Don't give up. Don't listen to other people, and don't listen to older people. In fact, don't listen to anything I'm saying. Get back on your phones.
And that's a panel. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to continue to ask this until I get an answer out of you. I want to know about the creation of something. Like what did you not know about producing that helped? What were the happy accidents? What were the things that you didn't know so it was easy to break the rules because you weren't?
I think the main thing was just to do it. When I was at Yale, my roommate had a Bolex, and he made a movie. Bolex, as I'm sure you know, don't take sync sound, so you have to kind of make a silent movie, and then you can lay on music and sound effects as you're editing, or after you edit. So he made a really boring black and white movie in 16 millimeter, and then I wanted to make sure I could make a failure, so I made a feature-length so-called comedy with Michael Hers, who was also at Yale, my partner of 50 years. And actually, he and his wife are the only funny things in the movie, but they have a great scene. Girl Who Returned, and then we had the goal to play it at Ivy League schools and charge $1. And that's a very happy accident, because I found out that no matter how bad your art may be, you see, I don't call it product. No, don't call it content. It's art. If it comes from your heart and your soul, it's art. And every movie that I've seen here, and I've been here now for 7 weeks in Wichita, it's nice under that bridge. And all the movies I've seen, they are really from the heart. They're great. And as a matter of fact, thanks to Tallgrass, I'm a narcissist, so I can't help talking about myself. But thanks to Tallgrass, I saw a movie yesterday about steel guitars, and I went right to Spotify and I've been listening to them all night.
I thought you were going to say you went out and bought yourself a steel guitar.
Well, I went to the Manhole Club, actually, and did a couple of pole dances. They're very expensive, the steel guitar, but gee, what a great documentary that was. Good job, Nathan.
So Troma started. Is Nathan here, by the way?
Figured.
Troma started.
He's watching Star Wars 42.
So I still want to get into the early days of Troma. So Troma started 74.
Yes, sir.
Between 74 and mid 80s, when Toxic Avenger came to be, what was your measure of success back then? What was your plan? You know, how much of it was based on passion, and how much of it was you just had to?
It's a good question. I think it was all a love of cinema, but yeah, when you're young, you know, I grew up with Oliver Stone. At the age of 18, he volunteered to fight in Vietnam. I mean, you know, you don't think you're going to die or you can fail when you're 18. Oliver Stone did not die.
Is that sex comedy you two produced together?
Oliver Stone?
Did you co-produce one like
Sugar Cookies? Very good, very slow. The big mistake at the beginning was Michael Hers and I listened to older people. We raised the money for the first couple of movies, and we let the older people direct. Big mistake, and they messed it up.
Is that in print, by the way? I've been wanting to see
Sugar
that.
Cookies, you can.
Lynn
Yes.
Lowry, Mary Warrenov.
Yeah, Lynn Lowry. Yeah, it's and Mondine is in it from Oliver Stone's in it. I think it's a good movie. It's just very boring, but it's very historic. It's the first X-rated movie in history. Remember Toxie? It didn't make money. First one. Anybody know of any other X-rated movies that didn't make money? Right after that, we made a G-rated movie that managed to lose all its money. And then Michael Hers and I, we got rid of the old guys, and they were like 10 years older. And there was nothing wrong with them, they just didn't have that Aaron Ellis magic. And then we started Troma, and still here 48 years later.
Is there anything in when you were founding this company and you were starting to produce, direct these movies? Was there anything that you learned back then that still follows with you 50 years later? A lesson that has followed you through all these years?
Preparation. We have a long pre-production period. I mean, that's the key to it. Have a decent script. Too many people. If you look at my IMDb, I'm in about 400 movies to try to learn what young people are doing, because I don't know how to do the video stuff, the digital. I can only do 35 millimeter in porn. That's about it. So the young people are much more with it on this stuff, and now it's digital. Where was I going with it?
I don't know. You're doing great. And you know what?
Yeah.
You're looking great.
Well, you know, Aaron, I was going to say the same thing about you. You know, Aaron Ellis, ladies and gentlemen. Pretty good, huh? If I had a movie on the jury, you know what I'd be doing.
Well, now we'll get to Toxie. Everybody loves
Jacket
Toxie.
off my back.
All right,
By the
I'll
way,
take it.
one thing about filmmakers also, it's good to read a book occasionally. Good to travel, get a sense of other cultures. I live in a block of cement in Manhattan, but I went to Chad. I didn't go fight in Vietnam. I took a year in the bush of Chad, and very mind expanding, no question about it. And you need a good script. You need to really work on it, and then don't let anybody screw it up. I just made a movie, and my wife said, "Oh, you had the best cast and the best script," and fucked that up. So Preston Sturgis, great screenwriter, and he got upset. Remember, the suits were ruining his movies, and so he decided to direct, and he directed 5 in a row that were huge hits. Miracle on Morgan's Creek and Sullivan's Travels and all those things.
It's one of the same year too. Amazing.
Yeah. Well, he was, like Oliver. He got just unbelievable. Except that his movies were a lot better. and then the suits tore him down. They wouldn't leave him alone. His autobiography is called Between the Flops. It's very good, very bitter. It's perfect.
The first time I was aware of Troma was probably sometime in the 80s when I saw Toxic Avenger on VHS. In fact, that's probably where I saw most of the Troma films. Do you really, can you chart in your mind like a before and after Toxie as far as just the level of success and the level of awareness of Troma? Could you even feel in the moment that like this one's going to work for us? This is people are going to love Toxie.
I don't think that's ever happened. I always think the Troma movies are great. I've always thought Toxic Avenger would be a huge hit. And thank you. Hey, we sort of got it right with Toxic. We kind of got it right. But we made Squeeze Play, Waitress, Stuck on You, First Turn On, and helped with some other movies. And they were before Porky's. They were raunchy comedies. Squeeze Play was, the subtext was the women's liberation movement and the ERA, which still hasn't been passed after all this time. And Waitress, they were raunchy comedy, Stuck on You. For the first turn on, my partner turned down Madonna for that movie. Fucking idiot. But Vincent D'Onofrio's first film is First Turn On.
You've certainly been a talent incubator. A lot of people have gone on from working with you on to making.
What kind of masturbator did you say? I am very, you're right, I'm a living legend in that department. I'm sorry.
Toxic Avenger, though, has gone on, has spawned sequels, the Broadway show that I saw, the Saturday morning cartoon series.
Toxic, you're talking about?
Yeah.
When we presented it to the world, we started at Cannes Film Festival, and total bomb, total nothing. No, we screened it, spent quite a bit of money, and the French got it, they bought it, that was it. And then nobody would play it, no theaters would play it. And then finally, a French woman who hung around with Warhol, who was part of his group, Jackie Renaud, we may have met. She had a theater down in New York and somehow saw Toxic Avenger. She understood it wasn't a horror film, it's not a horror film. It's some kind of Cuisinart of genres and political social satire. And full of sex and violence, but they didn't get it, and she got it. And then the day it opened, there was maybe we had an ad that big in the New York Times, and the day it opened, there was a line around the block, and then theaters started calling, and suddenly it started doing well. We still didn't get any money, but what the hell? Tootsie lives. 35 years later, they're not watching Power of the Dog, they're watching The Toxic Avenger. No, you're very nice. Thank you. That's awfully nice of you. Thank you.
In terms of production, in terms of like new Troma releases that you're not necessarily acquiring, but you're making, what is the business plan behind it? In the sense of, are you trying to do X amount of movies, or I'm going to direct some, I'm going to produce these? Like, is there a plan overall, or is it all kind of ad hoc, movie by movie?
Like Aeneas in the opening of the Virgil was Aeneid. We are much buffeted by the fates. We have no control over anything. Our basic premise was to make our own damn movies and own them. And keep the budget very low so we wouldn't go bankrupt on one movie, and build up a library of movies. And that Lesson, Chaplin, even though he was kicked out of the United States and indicted for, what do you call it, pedophilia. He still owned all his negatives, right? He was acquitted, of course. It was bullshit. But he owned his negatives, and they couldn't kill him. He made a movie at the age of 80 called, with Marlon Brando and Sophia Loren, right? And it was pretty good. What was the name of it? It was on a boat. And didn't do well, but it was very good. Anyway, the point is, you couldn't kill him. Countess of Hong Kong, right, thank you. It was a good one. It didn't do well, but if you look at it now, it's like Hitchcock. The later movies are great. There's just critics missed them. Anyway, he ended up rich. Keaton died a pauper because of Suits. They wouldn't let him alone. And he was a contract player at MGM. So if it wasn't for a film pirate named Raymond Rohrhauer, there'd be no Keaton. Rohrhauer saved his negatives. They were dying in MGM. And Rohrhauer took Buster Keaton around Europe with his negatives that he collected, and Keaton had a big revival in the 60s, before any of you were born, but he did have a brief, but very, the movies are brilliant. But,
you were talking about keeping costs low. It's part of
yes,
the way to sustain.
I
want to get in that because I just feel like with a bunch of indie filmmakers, they'll appreciate talking about doing what you got to do, working with limitations. I always feel that great creativity can come from limitations. So first and foremost, how the hell do you sucker people into working for you for peanuts? Like, what's the pitch? Knowing going into these, like, we're gonna try to do this is.
Well, at the beginning, we've always paid people, just not very much. But at the beginning, it was certainly we were not Troma. Nobody knew who we were. But now Troma is well known for helping people move up the food chain. So when we decide to make a movie, there's no problem with getting people. We do pay, but just very, very little. I think the leads of hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm, which you will, if you have time, will see this evening. That I think they each got $2,000, but it's 6 weeks of pre-production, and then meeting rehearsals, and then at least 6 weeks of at least 5 long weeks of 6-day shooting, filming. Not to be confused with New York's other great art form of shooting guns. And then we made the movie.
How about any stories from the trenches when you don't have, a major, you don't have a paramount budget to do things? Can you think of anything that happened that made you think, oh, maybe this movie's, we're not going to finish this one, or something dangerous happened, or something anything that's happened like that simply because of limited resources?
You mean like Steven Spielberg's movie where Vic Morrow's head was chopped off?
Oh man, John Landis, by the way.
And Spielberg's film, buddy. Landis's film. You're right, he was director. And 2 children got decapitated. No, we've never had anything like that. We have 3 rules of production. Safety to humans, and we put them up, we make posters. We put them on the sets. If you watch our behind-the-scenes documentaries, you should see them. They're better than a year of film school. Poultrygeist has one called Poultry in Motion. Truth is Stranger Than Chicken. And it's terrific. You watch that documentary, you'll learn a lot about filmmaking and also what we go through to make a movie, because we have thousands of people in our films and lots of costumes and details and special effects and all that kind of stuff, and it's quite torturous to put it all together, quite frankly. After hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm, I did a major tribute to Alfred Hitchcock. I got vertigo. I got the real vertigo. So I'm a big Hitchcock fan. Oh, my 3 days of spinning around. I was cold, sober.
I don't want to ask somebody who their favorite child is, but you just mentioned Poltergeist, and that's one of my favorite Troma movies.
You told me that was your favorite movie of all time, if I remember correctly.
I may have said that. What are your favorites? What are your Troma babies? Either your personal favorites or maybe ones that you feel are underseen and need more attention?
That's a good question. Combat Shock is a movie that we executive produced, which took about 15 years to break even, but considering the wonderful leadership we've had in the Middle East and the wonderful wars and all that, it's the best movie. It was about the Vietnamese war and PTSD, and this is made in after Vietnam. It's about that, but it's more pertinent today than ever. Much more pertinent.
Who's the director? Buddy
G. He calls himself Buddy G. And he's done some other terrific movies. He did one called Hot Time in Cracktown with Carrie Washington. Terrific. She plays a trans drug addict going to woman. She plays a man going to woman who's an addict. It was terrific. Terrific. Nobody saw it. Wonderful.
Yeah, what was it? It was like hot times in Cracktown, hot. Anyone have this one?
That's it.
Another Cracktown movie. Anyway.
Hot Town in Cracktown, and then a story of a junkie. If any of you are junkies, we have a great documentary by Let Walesa, who was in. They had his name in the movie last night. I guess he did a music video for those guys. Anyway, he made Story of a Junkie, and I think we have quite a bit of drugs, if anybody cares about that. And congratulations, sounds like you're going to legalize something very soon. Thank you. New York hasn't done it, right?
The film industry has ever been mutating, but especially in recent years, whether it be just post-pandemic, whether it be streaming, whether it be all the things that have changed and affected the way people, take in movies, consume movies. Are you jaded? Do you still feel? Do you feel like there's a chance for these independent pleasures to get out there? Is any of it easier having done it for this long?
Well, we've certainly incubated, as you say, many successful people since 1974. James Gunn, Samuel Jackson, Eli Roth, Oliver Stone, I can go on. Fergie, a million different people. So clearly talent will out at some point. You just have to stay with it, I think. I think that in my case, talent may have been more for kind of promoting and coming up with ideas and making movies that miraculously managed to avoid any kind of viewership. I think that'll be the way it goes.
You travel all the time. You do festivals and conventions.
Yes.
I love seeing the Troma team at Cannes. How do you still have the energy for all this shit?
Well, Michael Hers and I really love movies. We enjoy movies, no joke about it. Michael doesn't like to go out, but he's seen everything, and even a lot of the new stuff, more than I can have time for. Hi, Lydia. There goes Lydia, the mother of Melanie Addison. There she goes, all the way from Oxford, Mississippi. Lydia, ladies and gentlemen. Two cats, very expensive cat caregivers.
But we're clearly derailing right now, so I think this is a great time to open this up to some questions from the audience.
Well, thank you, Aaron, for great questions. They were very good.
They were okay. They were medium okay. Hey, we have any questions for Lloyd?
Who has a question?
Anyone? Yeah.
It's not really a question, it's more of an anecdote that I think that you'd really appreciate. Because I was sitting and I was talking with my friends just about you and Troma Films. I was talking about how, like, you're really an underrated fact about you is how you're an important piece to why Rocky is such an iconic, film and kind of really a special movie, because if I recall correctly, you're the reason that they shot in Philadelphia, right?
Well, we produced those scenes, but
Right.
it was John Avildsen and Stallone who were trying to figure out a way to get the producers to go into Philadelphia because they couldn't afford the union crew. It was a low budget, it was only $1 million in 76 or something. So they had the Troma team organize and shoot it. And 8 days went by, we shot all those great running up the stairs and that kind of stuff.
Rocky co-star Lloyd Kaufman over here.
Yeah, play a drunk. But Troma did all the production work there, and I did some behind the scenes at Super 8, which is on one of the Rocky Blu-ray boxes, and they promoted it very heavily. And then when I put it up on my Troma's YouTube, Fox sent me a takedown.
So I was just kind of talking about you, Lloyd Kaufman, and then
Yes.
my dad came into the room and he wanted to know what I was talking about. And my dad was born in the 60s, so I was like, well, I'm talking about the Toxic Avenger guy, and I was talking about how you're a great auteur and how I just love your filmmaking. And he's like, well, I don't give a shit about that. That Toxic Avenger movie, that's got tits in it. That's fucking awesome. I thought you'd appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
You should slip up a 20 or something for take this guy everywhere you go, man.
Well, he's sitting next to my wife, so
Yeah, I realized, I was like, oh.
she has mind. She can be like Trump. She can make you declassify information just using her huge brain.
I saw another question over here.
Could you talk a little bit more about how you feel LSD influences the creative process? Because I agree.
LSD. Why is it awesome?
That's a terrible way to put it. It was too intense in the 60s. I did it 3 times, and I had one bummer right prior to Thanksgiving with my family, which I usually have that without LSD. But oh man, I never took it again. But I don't know that it. We actually have a drug-free, alcohol-free set. There's a lot of lovemaking going on, a whole lot of love there. But a lot of people have gotten married and all that through meeting James Gunn's best friend he met on. In fact, we just at his wedding. I'd say at least 10% of the people were people he met at Troma or on Romeo and Juliet. So it's a very intense experience without the drugs. But in my private life, you know, in fact, right now, Toxic, we're sky high on cat tranquilizer. Right?
I was gonna say, the night is young too. If anybody is holding, please find Lloyd afterwards. Yeah.
Lloyd, I'm a big fan of yours.
Thank you.
I was just curious if you've ever thought about, like, I'm into all things weird and crazy, so have you ever thought about doing stuff with other Weird Al people, like Weird Al or Rob Zombie or ICP or anything like that?
Is there anybody you've wanted to collaborate with?
The gentleman asked if would I work with Rob Zombie or those kind of guys. No problem. The problem is I don't have enough money to, you know. Also, I'm the director.
Well, I would think that those guys would be fans of your work too, especially.
I'm sure that you know. Usually, when I run into somebody like Rob Zombie or what's his name?
Weird Al and ICP.
They must. I never met him, but sister. What's his sister? Something sister. He's a good buddy. I can't remember his name. Yeah, Dee Snider. He had a radio show and we became good friends. A big hero. He's a hero. But I really don't think in terms of stars. I don't have any. I don't even know who they are really. Maybe a couple of, you know, OnlyFans.
Timothy Chalamet is son of the Toxic Avenger. Yeah. I saw another hand over here. Yeah, right over there.
Yeah. So, as a sorry.
Thank you.
So, how many people do you get submitting to you films that are already made that are hoping to be produced by Troma, or do you get several scripts a year that people are hoping that maybe you'll pick up and take hold of? And do you get like just a shit ton of resumes for people wanting to star or act in your films?
The question is about submission, script submission,
Troma
people wanting to work for Troma.
yeah, we try to read as much as we can. If we're making a movie, which we're doing now, times 3 or 4, we put up notices that we need talent, or we would like to have if you're going to do a cameo, we ask for somebody in the ether to do it. We're constantly shooting something. In fact, we're shooting something next week if anybody wants to be in it.
Yeah, were you asking? Will you do full frontal? I was just curious. Just curious.
By the way, I have not asked anybody to do anything in a Troma movie that I haven't done. So I think I've done everything I've asked anybody to do.
Like it. All right, another question, this guy.
Yeah, speaking of casting, where do you guys normally work out? A couple years ago, I got the honor of meeting Midnight Rose, and I know he's out in Kansas City. But where's Tromaville technically at?
Troma, we're based in New York City, but our fictitious American town is Tromaville is in New Jersey, which comes from Preston Sturges, Miracle of Morgan Creek. He enjoyed satire, fond satire of American villages and cultures. So I took that up with Tromaville. And New Jersey's the underdog. We like underdogs.
Well, what I got out of that is everyone should be watching Preston Sturges movies. Yeah, we're in back there.
So first of all, if you want young Troma talent, hi, I'm here. And second of all,
Good for you. Oh, that's good. You have to do that because you got to push it yourself, without a doubt.
hey man, I'm here. So how was your experience working with James Rolfe on the Angry Video Game Nerd episode?
I got James Rolfe, Angry Video Game Nerd, happens to be a Troma fan, so he was making a movie and asked me to be in it, and then he is in Return to Nukem High, and shot his own scene. Very good, great guy. And that episode I did with James Rolfe, I know that he introduced people to Troma all over the world because the commissioner and I were in Mongolia, and somebody raised hand and asked, what was it like working with James Rolfe? So he's a major promoter of Troma. What's your name?
My name is Callie.
Remember that name, ladies and gentlemen. The Star is Born right here at Tallgrass Film Festival.
I saw another hand over here. Maybe they got shy. Yeah.
As an inspiring film director,
Maybe stand up.
I'll repeat it.
Oh, thank you.
as an inspiring film director and someone that wants to do directing at some point, I was wondering how being on many different sets, like Marvel sets and this and that, doing cameos and stuff, how does being on an independent set really compare to being on a giant set such as a Marvel production or something like that?
Lloyd has acted before in big studio blockbuster movies. Differences. What's the difference between the indie set and the big studio productions?
Well, first of all, on the independent side, there are movies being made for $2,000 with a one-man crew, and some of them are. We have some great movies on Troma now that are, I think, under $10,000, and they're great, they're wonderful, very entertaining. But there's no comparison. I mean, the huge, the size of the studios with this, and all those things they put up for the CGI. I have absolutely no idea what's going on. But it's huge. I mean, enormous. What I have noticed on the big studios, when I was working on Rocky and Saturday Night Fever and a few others of those things, most of the crew were kind of old and fat and lazy, and all they were interested in was lunch and how much overtime they could get. But in the last 10 or 20 years, I've noticed the crews, they really seem to be enjoying, the union guys, they seem to enjoy movies. They're younger, and I was just on a couple of those bigger movies, and they know Troma, and they're excited about making the movies, and it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Not that I would get much contact with that world, but on the other hand, they're lower budget. When we make a movie, if I'm directing, there are about 80 people who live together for 2 or 3 months. On the floor, learning how to defecate in a paper bag.
Right here.
How did you get connected with Lemmy?
Lemmy was a fan. He just turned up. A guy who worked for us in Los Angeles somehow met him, and Lemmy turned up in our office at the American Film Market, which is a distributor market in Santa Monica. You rent an office and try to sell your movies to international distributors at the American Film Market. So he just showed up. I guess he was in something else, or maybe they were taking him around to promote Motorhead. I don't know, but he certainly helped us. He's in about 8 of our movies, and we were pretty good friends. Nice guy. He pretended to be very gruff and surly. Actually, he was usually tardy rather than surly. He didn't show up surly. Very bad.
Do you think are there any myths about Troma that you could demystify right now? Things that people might think about Troma that are patently untrue? I know you were acquitted. We don't have to get into that one.
It is pretty amazing that I'm still around. I can't really see anything. I didn't quite understand what.
Just is there anything anything that you think is commonly perceived about Troma that's not actually true?
That we have talent, you mean?
Moving on. Yeah, right here.
The point is, we own about 1,000 movies. We are still here. We've had a good run. I think we have plenty of regrets. We're not like Edith Piaf. We regret beaucoup, but I sure do. But for the most part, we've been very fortunate. You know, thanks to fans. Thanks to our fans. You know, same with Bojo and the what's his name? Bojo.
Bojo Nixon.
what's it? Mojo. The same with Mojo and the Embarrassment, right? The fans. It's all about the fans. So thank you.
With the upcoming big budget version of Toxic Avenger coming out, how do you feel about your independent movie becoming sort of a mainstream, big budget thing?
Question about a buddy of mine, Macon Blair, doing a Toxic Avenger bigger budget remake. How do you feel about your baby becoming this?
Well, my independent bank account, I think, will be very happy. maybe. But I can't talk too much because I have to sign an NDA. That's a whole new. And then on Rocky, we didn't have to do that. Saturday Night Fever, and I was low life on those movies. And only recently, they're so sleazy. They don't trust each other, even to that we won't tell about the movie. Don't they want publicity? It doesn't make sense. You're not allowed to publish it and then publicize, and then suddenly you have to. They spend $200 million on publicity. That's a big difference between the independent and the big budget movie. But that was a good question. Probably I didn't answer it. I apologize. Did I come close? I gave them notes. They have a very good young director, Macon Blair. He's terrific. He's only directed one movie, but it's excellent. I don't want to live in this world anymore.
I mean, he made one movie and it won Sundance, no big deal.
Oh, it won Sundance? I didn't know that. But, well, maybe it's not so good. But anyway, maybe, no, he's great. I think Legendary, which is the company, they brought you Zilla versus Kong and Pikachu, so you know they're perfect. They're going to be perfect for Troma. Also, I have to abide by the NDA because we had to defer our fee. We had the choice. We had Solomon's or Sophie's choice, where you either could not have a movie or you don't get all your fee, or you don't get any of your fee. I think. I don't know. Anyway, we've got to get paid someday. So. I don't want to give them any excuse. And they're nice people. So far, they've been great. They've been great. But I have very little input. No. Same with the musical. Musical's great. If you get a chance to see the Toxic Avenger musical, it's the only thing that my wife could take her friends to see, in which I was connected.
It was absolutely hilarious, and I'm not just saying that because Lloyd gave me free tickets back in the day.
It's a wonderful show.
It was very, very clever.
Written by David Bryan of Bon Jovi and Tony Award-winning librettist Joe DiPietro. Very good. If you have a chance.
Good stuff. In the back, now.
Played in the West End, no less. Yes.
Talking about Sophie's Choice, of all of the movies that you have made personally, do you have a favorite and or a least favorite of them?
I like least favorite. Do you have a least favorite Troma film?
Well, we made a movie in Israel before Troma that is horrifying. It's so bad. It's G-rated too, so I think that's the worst one. That's really a disgrace. The problem is we listened to people. We should have just said, no, we're taking our money back to the States and forget it. But we didn't. We were afraid. We continued making the movie and it stinks. Awful. Big Gus, What's the Fuss? It's a spin-off from a character in Sugar Cookies, which was also a failure. That's pretty smart too, right?
You mentioned Combat Shock earlier, but
yes.
but do you have a favorite that you personally made?
I think hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm, based on The Tempest. I think if you're kind of into Prospero and The Tempest, and it's very the play is very trippy and got magic and about a sad old man. He's not a drunken sad old man, no. He's not drunken, no. But he's very.
But if you love Shakespeare, you'll love Shakespeare.
Well, also,
hashtag.
if you like monsters, I mean, The Tempest is a Troma. It's all kind of Troma. It's got a beautiful young romance. It's got everything. It's playing tonight at this evening, right?
I believe so. Yeah, I think they're all
in the place here, right? In here, I think.
Wrong person to ask, I'm sure.
At 10 p.m.
10 p.m. There you go. Thanks, Melanie. We got time for a couple more questions.
So they are here, right?
Melanie's way in the back there.
The poultry guys and Shakespeare is here. Nice.
There you go. We got time for a couple more questions. Anybody got something for Lloyd? Yeah.
You mentioned that safety for humans was one rule on your sets. What are the others?
What other rules do you have on set besides safety to humans?
Safety to humans is rule number one, and we make these rules very nicely. The art director is required to make nice versions of them so people can see they're important. Safety to people's property. When I was on Saturday Night Fever, I had to get the locations, among other things.
You got the nightclub, right? That was
Yes, yes, but that was the one that was in the article, so it's not like I discovered it, but I had to negotiate it. And it was kind of a rocky budget, very low, but a grip on that movie. We were shooting in somebody's house, and there was no budget for locations, so it was like running for Congress. I had to like butter everybody up in a whole neighborhood because it's shooting on location, and not enough to get the house in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. You had to get the houses next door so the friggin' lights could go on the roof, and then the trucks and the honey wagons and blah, blah, blah. So it's horrible. And then after all that, and I think we paid $100 a day, which is ridiculous for an entire house for all that time. And we had to build sets inside the house. And a grip puts a cigarette out on the wall of the people's living room. So, and I yelled at him. I was like a production assistant. I was like I was just out of college. It was right after Rocky. And so I yelled at him, and then the shop steward yelled at me. It was like I was the one at fault.
Are there other rules?
Have changed a lot since then, I think. The third rule is make a good movie. And we write that much smaller on the poster. We've not, in all this time, we've not had a serious injury.
Thank goodness.
At least physically we haven't had it.
But we actually have more time, so if you have some questions, please make sure you let me know. Why New York? Why not Los Angeles? Anywhere else? Like, why has New York always been home base for you?
I was born there, but the commissioner decided when she was in the Deep South that she would like to live in New York when she was about 10. She saw a movie called The World of Henry Orient, which takes place in New York, directed by George Roy Hill, who went to Yale, and did Butch Cassidy, among other things, and The Sting. But she decided, and she loves New York, so that's, I think, we had identified a small building in near Universal maybe 30 years ago, but then the wives didn't want to move there.
Are there any young contemporary filmmakers that you're finding inspiring?
Sure, Tarantino's amazing.
That young whippersnapper, Quentin Tarantino, I've heard of him. Yeah, sure.
Seems young to me. Well, certainly if you look at Murder Party, what's that guy's name?
Jeremy Saulnier.
Yeah, he's very good.
Which co-stars Macon Blair.
Oh, that's right. And Blue something or other.
Blue Ruin.
Yeah, that's very good. Green Room's very good. But I don't know. I can't say in with the trendy set.
That's what I was hoping for. I was just looking for a few tips.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a younger. I don't know. There's some that come out of Troma. What's his name? Trent Hager's very good. Obviously James Gunn's very good. Joe Lynch he's moving up the food chain. He's good. But I can't say I know of. I don't know of it. Anybody got a suggestion for a brilliant film by a young person? Who?
Robert.
Oh, Robert, yeah. I got to meet, what's his name? You're right, that was a big deal. I like his stuff, but he's not so young either, I guess.
Not so young, it's okay. Any more questions for Lloyd? Hi,
Sorry.
There. Yeah, let me get, we'll get the repeats. Fine, go for it.
So, you got I've seen Farts of Darkness. I think that's
You've seen what?
Farts of Darkness? That's the
Farts of Darkness.
Oh, yes, Farts of Darkness.
In it,
that's a documentary.
In it,
about the making of which movie?
Terra Firma.
Terror Firmer, which is about making a Troma movie, independent movie.
And in it, you know, there's kind of a part, because Lemmy's in that movie, of course.
Yes.
And he, so you have a bit with him at the beginning of the movie, but then at the end of the movie as well with Trey Parker and Matt Stone, this bit about hermaphrodites. But in the documentary, it mentions that he kind of, you were doing the lines for it in some sort of hotel because he wouldn't come back to the set because he was pretty pissed. It's just kind of glossed over in the documentary, but you ended up, because he thought like the bit was really offensive and the whole end sequence scene you were filming was offensive. So I'm just wondering if there's any anecdote about how you got him back there to like finish it, or if you just...
No, the problem is we had a big fight on the set because there was one place in the entire world that would give us a free escalator. We had to grind up a 500-pound guy in an escalator, and no place would give us a free one except for the Alliance Française. And Lemmy comes in and he's smells and he's in a smoking cigarette, and you know, you're not allowed to smoke in these buildings. And then he wants the air conditioning turned on, which is not good for sound. You know, and finally he did one line, and finally it was a bit of screaming, and he stormed off. But we sent the camera with him, and whatever's in that, whatever's in the Farts of Darkness documentary,
you followed him.
Yeah, we followed him there. And he said, I'm through with Troma, I'm through with Troma. But then...
Well, you had the last laugh, didn't you?
Well, he came back for the Trey Parker, Matt Stone.
That's what I'm wondering about, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was like months later. No, the manager, you know, he had a lot of drugs. You know, he took a lot of drugs. The manager said he was having a tough day. But we made up, and we were friends till the end. In fact, I switched to Maker's Mark, to drink Maker's Mark, because Lemmy died, and I wanted to, you know, respect his memory. Sweet guy, basically a good guy.
Last time I was ever in a room with him was at the Rainbow Room in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
he had a video, there was a video poker machine, and that was Lemmy's chair.
Yeah.
And he was the only one allowed to sit there because he loved to play
Now
video
there's
poker.
a statue of Lemmy, beautiful.
Indeed, there
We
is.
go there once a year.
When he was telling the Lemmy thing, though, made me think of about taste. Now, everybody knows you don't have any. As far as just being irreverent, as far as crossing a line, is there a line? Is there a limit to, are there boundaries?
I think there are boundaries, sure. I think if the boundary has to be if it's something you sincerely believe in, something that means something to you. There's a movie called and everybody loves it, the Serbian film.
Everybody loves the Serbian film.
I don't see that that's worthwhile. I don't see anything to it other than just gore. The other one that's a huge success is Terrifier, right? Big success out of nothing. They made it. I think they got a franchise now. They've got 2 or 3 of them.
Actually, it's my company bought it. Terrifier 2 is coming out, but it was a $30,000 movie that became a
huge hit. The star of Return to Nukem High and Return to Nukem High is hung upside down and chainsawed up the middle of her body. And I don't see it. But I asked a lot of fans, huge success, and they love the slasher part of it. They love that. So I don't.
Yeah, this new one just premiered this last week down in Austin. It's a 2.5-hour slasher movie.
Wow.
The kids love it.
They're very nice guys too. It's very smart. And, clearly, you've had a great success, but it's not for me. That made money. I don't do that.
Indeed.
So buy the merchandise. Going fast, Aaron. Troma merchandise.
Another question over here.
Well, that made me think about Luther the Geek.
Luther the Geek? I think that's an okay one. No, I like
It
it.
holds up. It's really actually pretty scary and really gruesome even by like today's standards.
Yes.
I don't know what like the inspiration for that.
Well, we didn't make it. That's just whenever we had money, we bought movies like the Children, which was a big the Toxie was a big influence on that one, and it's a good one. The Children, same producer as Luther the Geek.
I should have known that. I'm embarrassed now.
No, it's nothing. They're very much within the Troma universe, you know. And that's what's great about Troma Now streaming service. all the movies are from the heart and the brain and the soul of the filmmaker, and kind of in the Troma world, but not all disgusting, and but they have something to say, and they are all entertaining, you know, even if they're not exactly what you're looking for.
There's one underground filmmaker I was always excited you put out his stuff, Giuseppe Andrews.
Oh my God, he's a genius. He's the best.
Talented person.
Yeah, he played, he was a child star.
Child actors in like Detroit Rock City and...
Joseph Green, and he was in Independence Day, I think.
That's right, he was in Independence Day. Yeah.
But he makes these crazy movies. But
in the trailer park with all the people who live in the trailer park.
Yeah, that was his studio.
Definitely check out Giuseppe. You still have some of these movies in print?
I think we lost the rights. I
Touch
think
Me in the Morning.
we probably have Blu-rays or something, but I don't think we have the rights. I mean, we can sell what we have, but I think.
I digress. I saw some more hands. Yeah, I'll get you again.
Do you consider yourself like one of the fathers of B-rated movies? And what do you think your legacy is? Because I feel like a lot of modern day bad movie makers model yourself after yourself. So what are your thoughts on that?
Thought is about legacy and your place in cinema, B movies, exploitation, etc.
I think our movies, I think Troma's contributed a lot to the world of art, and a lot of people who are out there, from camera people to stars to big-time directors to writers that all have the spirit of Troma somewhere in their DNA. So I imagine that's the legacy, you know, and just not to be as stupid as we were, and make movies that don't have stuff that women don't like or men don't like or whatever. Whatever we do, people don't like. So I think people can take. People are. I mean, James Gunn. Look at that. Look at Eli Roth. So, they've got kind of the spirit, but they didn't overdo it. I think our problem is we overdo everything.
Troma fans are surely a special, passionate bunch.
Oh.
Have you ever had any truly bizarre encounters with fans?
I can't. I think Troma fans as a group are kind of unique.
Just anywhere along the way.
Very unique. I can't. I can't remember anything offhand. I'm sorry, but Toxie.
Never went to a second location and thought you were going to get sex murdered or anything?
Toxie says that once there was an incident where they had to call security. Something to do with Kim Kardashian. She took the mop and did something with it. Very bad.
We'll get you a second. Was there anyone who's not asked a question
Toxie.
yet wanted to get one out? Then let's see, you were turn. We'll get you.
In the 80s, there seemed to be a lot of Saturday morning cartoons based off of R-rated properties. Whose idea was it to turn Toxic Avenger into a cartoon, into the Toxic Crusader?
The question was, in the 80s, a lot of R-rated movies ended up becoming kids' cartoons. How the heck did Toxic Crusaders get born?
The Toxic, well, again, Troma's very historic, right? As far as I know, it's the only movie in which a young boy's head is squashed by the wheel of an automobile that made into a Saturday morning delightful environmental cartoon show. So I have no idea. We are told that the toy company was worried that the Ninja Turtles were starting to stop selling. So they wanted something, and they wanted an environmental toy. So I guess they never looked at the movie, but they didn't look at the Toxic Avenger movie. But it was very successful while it lasted. So cartoons are great. They're all on Troma now. They're terrific. Color's great. They're funny as hell and terrific.
My company actually just exclusively licenses it. It's Screenbox.
Which
it's gonna have Toxic Crusaders. It's going to be the streaming exclusive. That's what I'm told this
Oh,
month.
good. Well,
I'm sure you got paid.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Well, before I ask, I just wanted to point out I got nieces and nephews that love watching Toxic Crusaders.
Yay, thank you.
Play the board game that we ordered on Amazon. Nice.
The board game? Oh, great. Yeah, there's a board game for sure. No, thank you. There's lots of new stuff coming out based on the new Toxic.
Really?
Yeah. Graphic novels and
Oh, wow.
Pajama, all sorts of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And some of the old Toxie stuff is coming back too. In fact, this beautiful shirt made by the Creepy Company right here, and masks for Halloween. I know a couple of companies sell those, right?
So my question was, back in 2007, there was a movie called Grindhouse that came out. Were you and your studio ever approached to do a big mock trailer for Grindhouse?
No, but my brother made a movie called When Nature Calls, which is what Grindhouse should have been. Right? Grindhouse was two guys dressing up for Halloween, making a $60 million movie into a $50,000 movie. We did it for real. My brother did it for real. When Nature Calls, set up the way they wanted to. They tried to do it. No, but Tarantino's a big fan. The other guy too, I think, likes Troma, Gonzalez. I think he likes. Yeah, he's played our movies on his TV channel. And there's nothing wrong with the $60 million Grindhouse, but the play was just going through the motions. Check out When Nature Calls. It's got a lot of animals too. A lot of animals.
Do you have any scripts hanging around in drawers that if you had more money you would do, but you wouldn't do otherwise?
No, I don't think we have any real. We've got one or two scripts that require work, maybe, but I really don't know what I'll do next. But we are producing a movie against hunting called Curse of the Weird Deer, very Troma-esque, by former Troma employees. There's Kill Dolly Kill, which is LBGTQRXT movie by Heidi, what the hell is it? Anyway, she's finishing up in California. She made Dolly Deadly, which we distribute. That's very good. And then we got a couple of more. Mercedes the Muse made Divide and Conquer, which is a feminist film. And let's see, there's another one I just can't. Oh, we're shooting right now in New York. Bring On the Damned by the guy who wrote hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm. Well, he was helped by Shakespeare and Gabe Friedman. But Brandon Bassam wrote this. He's directing Bring On the Damned right now in New York. And he wrote Slashing 1 and Slashing 2, The Final Beginning, which I produced last year. So we continue to produce movies, but the younger people can do them a lot less than I can, for sure. And if some crazy script comes along that's really entertaining and has something to say, I'm looking for something. Under 500,000. But the young people can make, we have movies that are terrific for 10,000, 25,000. They're wonderful. They're just as good as anything we've done, or better. Father's Day was made in Canada, 25,000 bucks. Check it out. It's great. Got stunts, got all the fixings. Just these guys know how to do everything. You know, a lot of multitasking by younger people. Music, you know, they can do music, they edit, they act, right? All that stuff. I can't do that. Don't know how.
Any more questions hiding out there?
You're saying you can't act?
What? No, well, not really. You know. I'm in the movies because we can't get old people who I suck less than the old people who.
I would say that your performance in hashtag Shakespeare's Shitstorm is pretty spectacular.
I couldn't hear what she said.
The young lady has said that she found your performance fantastic in hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm.
Thank you very much.
You should definitely meet her after.
Yeah, thank you. Would you like to listen to some steel guitar music? Thank you.
Any more questions hiding out there? This is your chance. Why don't you get to see Lloyd one? Yeah, over here.
I guess piggyback off of his question with your legacy in that, is there someone in place, people in place that's going to keep Troma going long after you're gone?
After you are cryogenically frozen, who is going to handle the reins of the Troma empire?
We don't know. Michael Hurst is younger than I, so probably that will be his project. It kind of has a life of its own. I think somehow it'll, you know, I hope it stays by itself. It's more fun that way, you know.
Lloyd's got at least 70 more years left, so I don't even know why we're asking this question.
Oh, Aaron, you're too nice. Very, very nice.
63 then, how about
I'm 77, but I look a lot older.
The only 77-year-old who can pull off this outfit, I'll tell you what. Seriously, no more questions?
This jacket's from 1965 in Chad, Africa, in the marketplace in Pala, where they didn't have electricity or phones or any of that stuff. It's made by a lady who pumped it with her feet in the marketplace.
You got that during your year in Chad?
Yeah, 65. No, 65.
Fantastic.
But I have gotten a little comment occasionally on the issue of appropriation, but you know, the African thing. But I was there. I gave them a year. I have a right to wear this. I taught. I gave a year of my life to. No electricity, no phones, no TV. Took 6 weeks to get a letter. You know, that kind of stuff.
What else do you take inspiration from? You keep referring to the artistry that goes into Troma Films. I'm curious, outside of cinema, what are the kinds of things that somehow seep into these movies from other mediums, or just in life itself?
Well, a lot of politics. My grandmother had a very left-wing grandmother, and remember, I was in high school in the early '60s, so she filled my head with a lot of stuff that wasn't so stupid, like the Vietnam War was bullshit. And eat cashews because it got vitamin E. Every time my grandmother said the word Nixon, she'd spit on the floor. And right on the rug, didn't care. You know. She had some good hawkers, let me tell you. And she gave me books to read, and I would read them. C. Wright Mills, The Power Elite. So I think a lot of my philosophy, such as it might be, formed by stuff I had to read. Kind of, I wouldn't say, I guess sort of left wing. She liked Castro, you know, that kind of stuff. Told me how that Castro kicked out the whores and the United Banana Company and the Americans and the croupier, and wanted to have a country where humans could exist, but I guess it didn't turn out that way. I don't know. Although the big white rich people love going there. All our bougie friends. We've just been to Cuba. Oh, right? Get lost. The time to go. My folks were there during the Revolution. They were like those Americans that just go there to gamble, whatever. And it broke out while they were there. They had to get out. They had a dictator named Batista. Anyway, this goes with my grandma. Point is, I'd go to school, in high school, and I announced to my classmates, you know, we shouldn't be in this Vietnam War. It's very bad. And they, what? You know, Vietnam War? What are you talking about? But nobody, it was a back and forth. Nobody ever got violent or anything. It's not like today. You know, Yale University is like, you know, we have freedom of speech as long as you don't say anything. That's how they run that place. Right?
Now I say we get time for just a couple more questions.
Thank God for the Tallgrass Film Festival. Woo! That's all I can say. Thank the Lord for the Tallgrass Film Festival.
This is a real hospitality festival, ain't it?
It is. It's the best. The best. No joke. Really nice.
Question right here.
I just wanted to ask, what made you pick up the clarinet?
What made you pick up the clarinet?
Clarinet at the age of 3rd grade. You know, I had to play an instrument. So my mother said, if you take that, you take the clarinet, you could, you know, you don't need other instruments. It's a musical masturbation kind of thing. And during the, but thank you for mentioning it. During the COVID, when we were home, I found my clarinet from 3rd grade and fooled around with it a little bit. And we played it every at 7 o'clock in New York because people would bang on pots, and so we'd go on our front door and out our front door and play the clarinet. But and my wife bought me a beautiful clarinet, which unfortunately may have been dropped by a certain grandchild, so we have to get it repaired. But I stink, I can't play it. So thank you for mentioning it.
Fifth grade for me. I played the clarinet in the fifth
No
grade.
kidding, really?
And I switched to the bass clarinet in the sixth grade, and I haven't touched either since.
Wow, interesting.
Do you have any other hidden talents outside of filmmaking?
Do I have any talent? Yeah, but can you think of anything specific?
Name 6.
Well, I've had the same partner and the same wife for the whole 50 years, so that's all right. I would say I'm most proud of that. And my friendship with Aaron.
You wrote the lyrics to the songs, and well, most of you. Anytime there are songs in your movies, you wrote the lyrics. You spent an entire vacation in South Carolina. The rest of the family's out on the beach cavorting around, and you sat up in the room and you wrote the lyrics to the hashtag Shakespeare songs. I mean, Cole Porter, there he is.
You want me to repeat all that? Was it about you writing to get the lyrics to the songs? Or
Well, I don't know if you repeated it, or I don't know if people could hear it. It was actually a good thing. Something
I'm not going to be able to do it justice. You just want me to hear the praise over the microphone, isn't it?
I agree.
You're a multi-hyphenate. We all know this.
And you're a natural-born cook.
Ooh.
Yes, I think you're right about that. I think I do have some cooking, some inherent cooking creativity. But the lyrics for my songs, I don't know.
Well, the cooking, you might have already answered my next question, which was going to go completely off topic of Troma and say, what is the secret to maintaining a long-lasting marriage? I think that's important to anyone younger.
What do you say? I think just...
Do you want to just come up here and take, like, he's running out of steam up here. We need a ringer.
Often I do sit right next to him, but yes, you make me laugh to this day, and you're very, very loyal, and you're just very dear.
She says I'm the best film director. Thank you. You're a very good first wife.
I am your trophy wife.
Trophy wife, yes. Blue apron trophy.
We really are getting down to the end here, so please get some questions in. You've already heard me talking enough. I want to hear from all of you. Yeah.
If somebody hasn't seen a Troma movie, what's the first one you recommend?
What would you say would be the gateway drug? What would be someone's first Troma movie if they haven't caught one yet?
What do you say, Commissioner? I would suggest Romeo and Juliet, maybe, depending. It's a couples film.
Yeah, I still would go with Toxic Avenger.
Toxic Avenger, yeah. Oh. What about Cannibal the Musical? We didn't make it.
Ooh, yeah.
But it's pretty gentle, and it's hilarious. It's really great. Trey Parker and Matt Stone, before they did the other stuff. It's very funny. It's great. Wonderful lyrics.
Once again.
Do you consider any movie maker or producer worse than you?
What's that?
Do you have a movie producer or maker that's worse than Troma?
Could you repeat the question?
I'm not understanding. I'm also not understanding what worse.
Like lower quality than Troma.
First of all, I don't know if I would call Troma low quality. Low budget, perhaps. High quality. You want bang for your buck, you go to Troma. So what you're asking if there's I still don't know what you're asking.
Low quality, like is there anybody that you think like does it better than him?
Do you think there's anybody else who's working on the fast, cheap, Roger Corman, Larry Fessenden still out there these days? Do you think are there any contemporaries that you can think of who you respect?
Certainly there are many. I don't think that was the question, but there were many.
It wasn't. I didn't like worse and lower quality.
Here are all these wonderful independent filmmakers. Clearly, it's very much alive, and you don't. The nice thing is we don't need to be in Hollywood or New York anymore. We can have a. In fact, it's in my book. I have a whole chapter on having your own power base, and people in Indiana making. Has a studio right there, makes his own damn movies, North Carolina. It's going that way, I think. It's the big bang maybe right now. Could be. You know, it's going to be tough right now because nobody can make any money. It's basically the industry is an oligopoly controlled by a small number of governments and these big media conglomerates. But there's so much good talent out there. I just don't think the current system can prevent an explosion of independent, which is clearly happening.
Did you have to do anything to, you know, quote unquote, weather the storm during lockdown and beyond? It was a tough time for anybody in any industry, but.
Well, you know, it was COVID. We make people sure. We refused to let them have vaccine, of course. And when they would come to work, they had to take the mask off. And, you know, we got through it, no problem. No, we just did what we were told, and everybody, we only have about 8 paid people. It's not like we have a big company. So we all work from home, and with the modern technology, you know, it's not that hard. We don't have any business anyway, so there wasn't really much difference. Except I picked up the clarinet again. Yeah.
Traveling to festivals and you know, meeting all these emerging filmmakers, do you feel like there's any bit of advice? I know you've written many books about these kinds of things, but do you think there's any sort of advice that, even as the industry changes year after year, is still sound that you would give?
Well, thank you. I'm flattered. But I would say the joy is in the art part of it. You know, we live in a country where you probably aren't going to starve no matter what you do. So you can kind of decide what you want to be or what you want to do. So I think if you do have something to say, and if you read a book here and there, and to thine own self be true, to thine own self be true. A phrase coined by one William Shakespeare, who wrote the best-selling...
Hashtag Shakespeare shitstorm, right?
Well, he helped, but he wrote 101 money-making screenplay ideas, otherwise known as Hamlet. And I think you do what you believe in, and if you don't believe in it, maybe you go out west and try to, you know, make a shitload of money and have the cocaine and the hookers and all that. And there's some great people. I mean, the greatest people in the world are in the mainstream, but not too many. Very few. I can't do it there, that's for sure. But, you know, Eli Roth is charming, great guy. James Gunn is the sweetest person you'll ever meet. Successful, talented, and they're a people person. And they know, they've seen every movie. I mean, Eli Roth played Mother's Day at his, my brother's movie at his bar mitzvah. So, these people are into movies.
And they still return your calls.
Well,
this is it. Any final questions for Uncle Lloyd? Yeah.
Again, thank you, everybody. It's so nice. Thank you. Really appreciate it. As long as the commissioner is smiling, all is well in the world. Yes?
Has there been any progress on a Toxic Avenger Part 5?
When's Toxic 5 happening?
I think that's not going to happen because we did get a script. It wasn't too bad. But I think because of this big budget remake, we are not permitted to make any more of our toxins. I think. I'm really not sure. But certainly for the time being, Michael Ayers doesn't want to do another one. I kind of agree. Why distract people?
I'm a personal fan. I just want to give out a shout to Citizen Toxie, the Toxic Avenger Part 4, which I gave a glowing DVD review in Premiere Magazine 900 years ago.
Well, thank you. That is a really interesting movie, and it's a warning, among other things, about the loss of the right to women's health. It's all over the movie, and yet nobody listened. Here we are, you know, since 1999, 2000 we made that movie. 22 years later, nobody, still don't have the ERA that was in Squeeze Play. We still don't have a lot of stuff. Terrible.
Yeah.
I can't go on. No. Yes.
To piggyback off this question, what if you just remade the remake?
The idea is to remake the remake. I bet there's a loophole here you can exploit.
Well, before you remake the remake, I say you return to Nukem High. Because the second half of that movie is In fact, there's some embarrassment influence on Return to Nukem High. I don't want to tell you what it is, but you'll know it when you see it.
Yeah.
How was the process of making a music video with the band Sanguisugabog?
With the band who?
Sanguisugabog from Ohio. They came to Troma and filmed a music video, I think like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't think did I direct it?
Yeah, it's called Minstrel Envy.
Oh, Minstrel Envy. Oh, yeah. That was, we had a
What is it? This is a music video?
Yep.
What was this? This is a music video? You don't even remember
You
this.
sure you're not talking about Charlie Kaufman, the great director?
No, they came.
Philip Kaufman.
They came to Troma. That was like their big
Great.
talking
Well,
point
thank
about
them.
it.
I don't know that I saw the finished product. Send it into Troma now. Troma now.
Yeah, it's outrageous. So.
Is it good?
Yeah.
You like it? Oh, great.
It's crazy.
Great. Yeah,
Say-
send it into Troma now. That's great.
For sure.
You say you've only done LSD 3 times. Okay.
And now it's a different LSD. There's a micro, but I don't.
Do you want to? Should we try to find some?
Maybe during the screenings.
During the screening. One last question. Does anyone have a great one? It's gonna be the final one.
This has to be good.
It's gotta be good.
Toxie's listening, right? Toxie?
Yeah. No mediocrity. I'm not gonna do it. Oh, somebody better have something good. You'll leave me hanging here? You don't really want another question from me. I just run my gums. Yes. Is it good?
No.
This is the last one. Is it good?
It's a little bit.
Let's go for it.
I just want to ask. I asked about the clarinet earlier. Were there any? I don't know. You like music you like besides the steel guitars or anything?
What's your musical taste? What are your musical predilections? What do you listen to? What do you like? What's inspired you? What's moved you?
I like everything, but again, I'm old, so I'm into Cole Porter and Rodgers and Hart and Gershwin, opera, Guar. Guar too, yeah, Guar. Okay, we have Guar music. They're great. In fact, David, what's the guy who died?
David Brocky.
David was going to be the Toxic Avenger in Citizen. Toxic. He was the best one. But it turned out that he was on probation in Virginia, and we were filming in New York, and he was worried that the dog catcher would come. Throw a net over him. Yes, Toxic.
I think that is a perfect stopping place. I hope you all get a chance to see all the Troma movies that are playing tonight. Buy some merch from this guy, Lloyd Kaufman, everybody.
Well, thank you, Aaron Ellis, and Melanie Addington, ladies and gentlemen. Toxic Avenger. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you. That was great. Thank you so much.
Lloyd is going to be signing for the next 25 minutes in the volunteer lounge, so you just go out that way. Thank you.